Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Kind of a chilly morning here in Santa Fe. Oh, and I should start with today is, say it with me, it is Friday. Woohoo! September 15th. And yeah, Chris, we have finally started getting the monsoon rains. Very late in this season. Uh, I've got Killian out here with me, and he's thinking about going over the wall. Is he being good? No, he's coming back. What a good boy. All right, we'll see if he behaves. He's been interdicted from the secret garden for a few days because he started going over the wall, which is not allowed for a young cat like him. Yeah, so we've finally been getting rain after months of almost nothing. It's just been delightful. We got an inch at our house from uh, like 2 days worth. We got more rain last night. The garden is so happy and flourishing, and I'm so pleased with myself. I am. I feel like not an attentive gardener. I love gardening, but I'm not someone who is like constantly at it and doing all of the right things, like all of the soil amendment things that I should be doing. But on Monday afternoon, before these rains started in, I did manage to scatter fertilizer all over the garden, which was perfect timing because you don't want to put out fertilizer when it's hot and dry, right? Because it'll burn the plants. So right before this drenching rain was perfect timing, and I never have perfect timing. So lately, my timing is good. I feel like I am one with the Tao, and in a rewarding way. One can be one with the Tao, and in a non-rewarding way. It's sort of the knife throwing analogy, right? I've talked about that before. Uh, for those who haven't heard me talk about it, the short version is that with knife throwing, you learn to be as excited about missing the target as hitting the target because it's all about the process. It's about the journey. It's about attempting to do the thing. And it's a great lesson in what failure means, the proportionality of failure, the negative connotation that we assign to the concept of failure. Uh, Not sticking the knife in the target simply means you didn't stick the knife in the target. And it attempting to have the same feeling of thrill as when you do stick the knife in the target is an interesting exercise. Uh, Helps to kind of subvert that programming that somehow not doing the thing you set out to do is negative, is something to be upset about, as opposed to something to celebrate because you tried to do the thing, right? So, so anyway, yeah, I was very pleased with myself. The garden just loves all the rain. Now I'm kind of wondering. Oh, I see where he went. I know it's distracting when I have the cat out here with me. Apologies for that. So, so yeah, rain, and it's cooled down a lot. So we definitely have an autumnal feel. Oh, I was going to say about the monsoon rains. Monsoon refers to a season, and specifically it refers to the weather phenomenon where the dew point, the uh, temperature at which moisture spontaneously forms from the atmosphere, when the dew point reaches the temperature. And so you can actually look at this on the weather graphs if you set them up correctly, that you can see the dew point coming up and hitting that temperature like in mid-afternoon. The two coincide. There's Killian behind me if you're on video, showing his speed, showing how fast he can race around. What a good kitty. Be good. Well, he started to go for the wall, and I stopped him, so that's good. Um, yeah, so it's been a good week for me. Going back and forth with my agent and my new editor. We'll make a formal announcement about the book deal. It sounds like in a couple of weeks. So I'm sorry to be a little cagey still. Until then, I'm more forthcoming than many people are at this stage. So I don't know. Be happy with the information you've gotten. Uh, I've also been, so it's been fun. We've been talking about next steps. We've been talking about book two. It was kind of funny because my new editor. Ah, all right, those of you astute listeners out there may have guessed that that sound of frustration was, in fact, Killian going over the wall. I had to go chase him down. Now he's in disgrace again. Oh, so anyway, so my editor was asking about book two because it's a book two deal, or strike that, reverse it, two book deal. And I think I mentioned this Monday, but whatever. Uh, she had originally said that she didn't necessarily want book two to be a strict follow on to book one. That we could talk about that if I wanted it to be that way. But very interestingly, she said that if you do that, if the book two is a direct sequel to book one, then you tie the success of book two to book one. And I find that interesting because we've been having a lot of conversations about whether traditional publishers want series or not. Clearly, readers want series. That's big in indie publishing, uh, having direct follow ons. I very often in my books have the sequel pick up immediately after the previous book ended. I don't like time jumps in general, but yeah, there has been this feel of, oh, and it's sort of an enduring conversation. It's like, can you sell a standalone book? Uh, do publishers prefer sequels or series, or do they actually shy away from them? And I think that's very interesting. That there's, I love that my editor expressed such a strong feeling that she wants book two to be as successful as book one. That she wants that as much as she loves book one as it and is investing in it, that she also has high hopes for book two, which I feel like doesn't always happen. Um, and it could be an experience thing. This editor is highly placed. Uh, so she's the most highly placed editor well, that's not true. I was good because I worked with Angela James at Carina Press and she was editorial director at the time. But this is a big five. So, probably fair to say she's the most highly placed editor I've worked with. And so she might have a little bit more of a strategy. Uh, but something that happens, especially like when books get orphaned and that sort of thing, by various, well, it happens in various places. It happens to various authors that especially a younger, maybe less experienced editor will buy a book, be enthusiastic about it, but then lose enthusiasm over time, especially if like the book doesn't sell as well as they thought it would, or if something new shiny pops up. Uh, so it's nice to know that there's this investment in having the second book do as well as the first or better. Um, so but it was kind of funny because she said she was talking about like plans for what we would do going forward, getting me notes on book one, and when we turn that around, we're looking at June 2025 release date, and she wants to start talking about book two so that we can have the second book come out within uh, she said so we can get on an annual basis. It would be nice if they wanted one book a year from me. Cross your fingers for that. So a lot of that will depend, of course, on how these books do. But amusingly, something she said in this email was that we could start talking pitches for ideas of book two as I'm thinking of them, and then start putting together ideas for an outline. And I was like, uh oh, that's where we go, whoa, whoa. It's like, oh, I need to be honest with her. So I wrote back, and Agent Sarah had not yet replied to this loop because she was out with a migraine. I thought, well, I better just be upfront with my editor, um, so she knows. And I said, so about the outline thing, it's like, cannot do them. I'm just such a far and Gardner pantser ripe for discovery that I wish I could tell you that I could make an outline, and it just ain't gonna happen. I cannot do it. And I was hoping that usually in the past when I've said this to editors, they're like, "Oh well, we'll work on it," or we could put together a rough outline. And I feel like it's hard for me to transmit that. It's like my brain just doesn't do it. I just If you have to have an outline from me, I'm going to write the freaking book and then make an outline because I just can't think about what the story is until I have that outline ready. So, it's outline ready. I'm kind of worrying about the volume today because I belatedly noticed that it's not registering very strongly, even though I did adjust the microphone before I began. And I wanted to give a shout out to John Barr at Eastern New Mexico University, professor of screenwriting there. I hope I got that correct. Who had told me at Bubonicon that sometimes this podcast is too quiet, and tagged me on Facebook recently saying I'd fix the problem. I hope it's truly fixed. uh, yeah, it's a weird thing between my microphone setting and Zencaster. So, well, anyway, I'm already 12 minutes in, so I need to just focus on what I'm talking about. Outlines. It's hard for me to transmit that my brain just doesn't think in terms of the outline before I write the story. That's just how I write. And you all know that my mantra is figure out what your process is and own it. The caveat there is that a downside of selling to trad is that they have a corporate structure, they have a way of doing things, and that doesn't always accommodate weirdnesses of process. Fortunately, she wrote back and said pantsers are valid and we'll figure it out and we can talk in terms of ideas. And once we get something solid, then I can move forward. So I'm starting to think about ideas. Yesterday, I had writer coffee. Jim Sorensen came up. He brought me flowers to congratulate me for the book deal, which was really sweet. He'd been very helpful on reading Onira on a flight to England, and sent me notes, a fairly fast turnaround, and it was immensely helpful. So it was interesting because he was not in favor of a direct follow on sequel either, because he said he feels like the story is told. And that's how I feel too. And I know I'm teasing you all with how this story will turn out. I've been getting your messages, and you just have to wait to read it. But one of my other friends, who I think would have written this story very differently, I know she would have, because she had made suggestions along those lines, like how she would have done it quite differently than I have. And it was useful feedback, but it was also like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But she said that she thought that as a reader, she would be disappointed if the sequel was not a direct follow on. But it's interesting, so far, she's the only person who said that. And, I you all know, longtime listeners, that Onira came to me as, kind of, like I said, dropped on me from out of the sky. And I had a sense of that it was one complete story that I was going to tell, that it's not my usual thing of having multiple sequels. Uh, with an Well, this does have kind of an arc in the overall world, and that's probably what I'll be thinking about. So, anyway, all the conversations are very happy. Everybody's so excited about this book. It's really wonderful. Uh, there have been some discussions on a couple of the different discords that I am on where we've been talking about very specifically, people wanted me to talk about hybrid publishing, being both indie and trad. And that was on a server where it's primarily indie authors who are very suspicious of traditional publishing and uh, tend to focus on the horror stories. Um, there's certainly an aspect of indie publishing that, how do I want to phrase this? Well, where there's a chip on the shoulder of, um, I reject traditional publishing, you know, because they rejected me or before they can reject me. And when I talk about why I traditionally publish still, why I wanted this deal, there's still a lot of things that traditional publishing can do for authors, print distribution being one, but also this sense of team excitement is huge. Uh, it's really great to have a bunch of people excited about this. Uh, we did retain foreign rights for this book, so the my agency has been working on pitches for foreign rights deals. They're already taking early meetings ahead of Frankfurt Book Fair. Frankfurt Book Fair happens in October in Germany, and it's kind of the big foreign rights sales gathering. So yeah, they're already taking meetings ahead of this, and so Agent Sarah had asked me to put together a bio for the identity for this book. We are doing this book under a pseudonym, uh, but it will be transparent. I think I've mentioned that. So it'll be, Jeffy Kennedy writing as. And largely it is to transmit that this book is a little bit of a departure, that it is this genre departure. And it occurred to me today as I was saying my usual author of epic fantasy romance that this book is not fantasy romance. It's, I don't know what they're going to call it. I should talk to them about that, but I may have to change my opening. I know I futz with it sometimes. Author of all the things fantasy. I might just have to go with, like, I don't know. Let me know if you could think of a clever phrase. Author of fantasy and I don't know. We'll think about it. We have time. So, um, yeah, so it's just been a really fun week. I am getting back into writing Twisted Magic. I am ramping up again, allowing myself some time to build back up. But I've had a good week. I'm not back up to 3,000 words a day. I want to get there, but I've written 8,000 words so far this week, so I'm hitting over 2,000 a day on average. We'll see how today goes, but it is my highest word count week already, not counting today's words, since July. So that's pretty good ramping up again. That's pretty good training. Uh, some of that was because I was doing a lot of editing in August, but then also, and that was like mid July too. So like July and August and this part of September, travel, editing, traveling, COVIDing, all the things. So yeah, I'm trying to be patient with myself. I am pretty much on schedule for releasing Twisted Magic on October 30th, although it's starting to get a little uncomfortably tight. So we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, getting there. So, on that note, I think I shall go in and get to work. I hope you all had a great week. I hope you have an amazing weekend and that you're enjoying the beautiful autumnal weather, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, spring weather, right? And I will talk to you all on Monday. You all take care. Bye bye.